Good day and welcome to the fourth video in this series on the books the Patmos Prophecies. In this video we will take a closer look at the beast of Revelation 13, that enigmatic animal that has confounded the church and the world for so long. However, in a final analysis, it will be discovered it was not such a complex prophecy at all, for it was literally brimming with facts. This fact by itself makes it all the more intriguing why all and sundry had failed to grasp the prophecy. The scope of the beast prophecies could only be afterwards, once the complete works were at my disposal, be ascertained. It went quite wide, and has quite a wider impact upon man. However, one thing stood like a pole above water. St. John's facts from 2000 years ago relating to our time were absolutely impeccable. So the million-dollar question, who or what is the beast of Revelation 13? We know the beast has been a source of great controversy for a long time. We also know that the beast prophecy had been a source of much confusion. So between controversy and confusion, where do we start? The cardinal reference is embedded in Revelation 13 verse 1. The rest of Revelation 13 embed supporting facts thereto. If we study Revelation 13 verse 1, it shall be seen to be literally brimming with facts. We already know the church's perspective on the beast of Revelation 13. That an enigmatic animal that is neither lion nor leopard nor bear, the critical question is, what was St. John's perspective of the beast of Revelation 13? Yes, it was complex, but was also very simple. Before we start the deciphering process, we need to ask ourselves a few pertinent questions. The first and very important question is, what subjects can we identify from Revelation 13 verse 1? And the pertinent subjects are the sands of the sea, which obviously describe either the shore or a coastline, the sea itself, a beast, horns and crowns. From that, the next question must be, what are their relationships? Once again, if we look at Revelation 13 verse 1, we see that the beast is related to the sea, but is also related to 7 heads and 10 horns, whilst the 10 horns are related to 10 crowns, and the 7 heads are related generically to the subject of blasphemy. So what's the core message from Revelation 13.1? Blasphemy is in a symbiotic relationship with the beast. Now that sounds confusing and seems only to add to the controversy, However, we are slowly building our foundation to start extrapolating our facts. Is the factual pointer I saw present? This is a crucial question because throughout the prophecies, whenever St. John has used the words I saw, I looked, or I observed, it means that whatever follows thereafter is a factual prophecy. And this comes from our daily lives. If you have to render witness in a court of law, and you tell the judge, I saw, he will add more weight to your evidence than somebody who presents evidence and said, I have overheard, or somebody told me. The reason thereto is, you have been there, you saw it firsthand. And St. John uses this very same principle to identify when it's a factual prophecy. Revelation 13, the I saw pointer is there. Why is the pointer I saw so crucial? It identifies a factual prophecy. Do not go and look for symbolisms. Don't try and read anything else in it. It's pure facts, nothing else. With these questions and answers in the back pocket, we can now consider starting the deciphering process. We shall remember from the video on the deciphering process of the Revelation's prophecies that we had to utilize the Trinity key. And the Trinity key's first step is to establish the domain in which the prophecy is set. When we apply the domain test, we see the results confirm an Earth domain prophecy. Confirm that we now follow the Earth domain leg on the Trinity key. The prophecy is now approached in bite-sized chunks and systematically deciphered. For now, we will only consider the text highlighted in white. This text, we can confirm that whoever or whatever the beast was, it had gained power with the aid of the sea. As confusing as this fact may appear, it was crucial information. It confirmed that whoever or whatever the beast was, it belonged to or was associated to a country or nation that bordered the sea. From the above facts, we can now make the deduction that the referenced beast identified a geopolitical entity. This significantly narrowed the field of focus. It's confirmed that this geopolitical entity was supported in its quest for power by something from the sea that aided it in its quest for power. So, it is a factual prophecy. We now need to seek our answers in history. And as we shall progress, you shall discover that St. John's facts are impeccable. Vladimir Lenin first planted the seeds of the communist utopia amongst the disgruntled Russian sailors of the Northern Fleet and nurtured it into a festering revolution. The Russian cruiser Aurora fired the first shot to signal the start of the Bolshevik Revolution to overthrow the Tsarist government. We thus see that the Russian Navy played a key role towards supporting the rise of communism in Russia. So we have the first part to our prophecy. Communism came to power in Russia with the aid of the Russian Navy. And that matches St. John's facts. A beast rise up out of the sea. Communism came via the Russian Navy to gain power in Russia. But there remained the rest of Revelation 13.1 to decipher. Should we now consider the rest of the text highlighted in white? This required some research and some guidance by the Holy Spirit during a family holiday. Whilst on holiday, we visited a game farm, and during the visit, the game ranger made a very interesting statement. Man can tame any wild beast, but there will be a time and a place where that wild animal will retaliate, and his instinct will take over and he will attack whoever has tamed him. Let's call it the handler. And we often see this in incidents in circuses and other venues where wild animals are kept as so-called pets, where after years of peacefully living in coexistence with their human family, they one day would turn around and unexpectedly attack. So that gives us some hint on the pointer beast. The next one was an interesting statement that I overheard by a Russian gentleman during a speech while discussing Count Dracula. The Russian language has a Slavic root, and Vlad is Slavic for beast, whilst the word mir is the Slavic word for peace. Hence the Russian name Vladimir literally translates into tamed or peaceful beast. But as I've just confirmed, as any game warden will confirm, tame beasts are unpredictable and remain dangerous. At some point, it will attack its trainer or keeper. So now we have the second part to our prophecy from Revelation 13. Communism shall last in Russia from Vladimir Lenin to Vladimir Ivashku. You may ask, who's the latter? We'll get to that shortly. But at this juncture, it now starts getting very interesting. Once again, we focus on a text highlighted in white, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns. The 7 heads are 7 heads of state. The horns, the 10 horns, denoted the chairman of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. And by putting the crown on the horns, i.e. the chairman of the Communist Party, St. John confirmed from 2000 years ago that Russia was ruled by the chairman of the Communist Party, not by the head of state. Once again, St. John's 2,000-year-old facts fit like the best machined gears to a complex gearbox. Noteworthy was the fact that he confirmed and embedded the seat of communism. It's not the head of state that governed the country, but an unelected and unaccountable cabal centered on the position of the chairman of the CPSU, answerable to nobody but themselves. And then we get a sniper shot from 2,000 years ago, across the ages, and he lives out a noteworthy personal feature of one of the heads of states of the Soviet Union. Who shall forget Gorbachev with that prominent birthmark on his head? And look at the way St. John has so beautifully summarized it. One of his heads, i.e. one of his heads of states, as it were wounded to death. These words are very important. St. John did not say he was wounded to death, but as if he were wounded to death, as it were wounded to death. A significant difference in meaning, and nearly one and all that had looked at this verse and these words has decided that who or whatever this head is, it was deadly wounded. That's not what St. John said. He clearly stated, as if it were wounded to death. Finally, we get to the third part to this prophecy. The Russian head of state shall be the international facade of communism. True power shall reside in the shadows with the chairman of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. And history bears its facts out. The rest of the Revelation's prophecies, the Revelation 13 prophecies, provide supporting evidence as to the identity of the beast. Noteworthy is the confirmation as to the preservation of the body of Lenin himself. And this was also interesting, where the King James Bible translated from the original that the image to the beast had the wound by the sword. Yet the original Dutch translation from the same text referred to a butcher's knife. A very interesting correlation, for a butcher's knife in this context would be the better translation than the sword. For Lenin did not fall in combat. He was not slain. He died of natural causes. Now we have the fourth part of our prophecy. The body of Vladimir Lenin shall be preserved as tribute to communism. And this brings it out in conflict with Exodus 20 and the 10 Commandments, where God states, "You shall bring no other idols and gods before me." That's exactly what communism has done in this case. Vladimir Lenin is the idol of communism. He is worshipped before God, which confirms the last sentence in Revelation 13 verse 1. Upon his head, blasphemy. We can now summarize the 4 individual prophecies. The first part to the text state: communism came to power in Russia with the aid of the Russian Navy. Communism shall last in Russia from Vladimir Lenin to Vladimir Ivashku. The Russian head of the state was the face of communism. The true power resided in the shadows with the chairman of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, and the body of Vladimir Lenin shall be preserved as a memorial to communism. So there we have our confirmation to Revelation 13. The beast of Revelation 13 is communism. It's abhorrent to God, and he shall strike it down when it shall be at its most arrogant, powerful, and deceitful state. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was not in 1990. I'm sure that while you watched this video and saw the facts being exposed, you also experienced the emotions of it could not be this simple. There had to be more to it. Trust me, it also gave me many sleepless nights. It was only once the rest of the Revelation's prophecies were deciphered and Revelation 13 could slip into its rightful place in the greater jigsaw puzzle that was Revelation 13 and the Revelation's prophecies that I finally relaxed and accepted the results. I trust you found the Revelation 13 as intriguing as I did, and I continue to do so. Thank you for watching the video on the Beast of Revelation 13.